Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Silent Podcast, where we're anything but silent. Today, we're going to be covering season 1, episode 10, aka the finale. We're here, everyone. Please grab your Kleenexes because we've made it. We've made it to the finale, and I'm stressed. I can't believe I cried watching this again. But anyway, we're going to get through it because I am your host, Sasha Joseph, and I'm joined by my co host, Chappell, to talk through it all, y'all. How are you, Chappelle?
Sasha, I'm good, but this finale, it takes a lot out of me every time I watch it. I
Yes.
mean, I think this was like the third time, maybe the fourth time that I've watched the first season. And every time I forget how emotional it is. I didn't cry, but it gets me in the feels every time. So, this is going to be a heavy one, but I'm so happy to be here talking about it with you.
Me too. I'm so excited. And again, before we introduce our amazing guest, everyone, make sure you are leaving us reviews. Chappelle does owe us now a really fire prom pick. So, Chappelle, TikTok, you're on the clock, sir.
I'm working
We're
on it.
waiting.
Yeah, listen, I have to go home to my parents' house and dig through stuff. It's not like, look, I'm old. So it's not like my prom pictures are somewhere on Facebook. Like probably on MySpace somewhere, but not on Facebook.
Yeah, well, MySpace, you might be able to recover faster
I
with the
might.
issues today. So,
Yeah, I have to look. But yeah, so I'm working on it. But by the time this whole show is over, by the time we finish season 2, I will have the photos for you if I have to drive to my mother's house and get it.
yes. And with that, so again, keep those 5-star reviews coming. Let us know, what our next milestone need to be. Let us know if you're enjoying this. And with that, Chappelle, I need you to introduce our guest, please. It's time.
Oh yeah, I'm very excited about this. So back when season 2 was on, this person reached out to me. It was like, "Oh my gosh, do you want to cover Never Have I Ever?" And I was like, "We're already covering Never Have I Ever. We're talking about it on post show recaps." And then when we decided to do it on Silent Podcast, I was like, "Well, we have to have this person." I think she and I go way back to where I first was on her podcast, Wombat Water, where she does a bunch of like parody songs. And I think we were debating. Well, we were agreeing on that. Candy corn is the best candy of all
Oh,
time, best
hell
seasonal
no.
candy of all time. We agreed. There was a contest, but this person definitely helped me in my argument. We won, and so it gives me so much pleasure to introduce one of the stars of the Black Widow Brigade, currently on YouTube, Karen from Canada. Karen, how are you?
Wow, that was loaded, and I don't know what to respond to. I'm good. Start with that. I'm really good today. Hope you're both excited to get into this finale episode of Never Have I Ever. I'm excited to be on this particular episode because this series is very meaningful to me, and the way that Devi finally comes to deal with her grief and sort of this nice bit of a resolution with that, and saying goodbye to her father. That was a big deal for me. So I'm ready to unpack all of it and just some of these things that we had been working up to and things that are about to continue into the next season. So this will be great.
Yes. I know. I can't believe we're finally here. Like, both kisses have happened. What do we do now? Like,
Right.
Oh my
This has been
gosh.
such a journey. And Karen, how did you get? Can you give us some background about
yes.
how did you get into Never Have I Ever and why you love the show so much?
Okay, so I think I just randomly saw it promoted on Netflix. And so I definitely binged all 10 episodes in a single evening. I definitely cried pretty much the whole way. And my blanket was like just soaked by the end of it. And my shirt and everything. It was just really gross. And I'm glad I was alone and that no one at home saw that because it's very embarrassing. But it meant a lot to me because the whole theme of grief and dealing with grief. I had lost my mother a couple years before in 2018. And, or I guess, yeah. And just not that I related to Davy's story completely, but totally understanding that. And the way it was written was very, very well done and executed and acted beautifully. The other thing about this show that means a lot to me is, and I'm sure lots of people have mentioned it, is a representation. But for me, especially people with disabilities and special abilities and medical conditions represented on the show, which they are, from my understanding, the most or the least represented group of people on television, specifically. So, and people who are white or white passing, most of the people on this show who are white or white passing are also minorities in some way. And so I think that was really interesting that the show managed to find different ways to make the show meaningful to everybody, which I think is, and there's also mixed people, which again, you don't see a lot all the time, or that it's like that you sort of bring attention to that. So I think this is a really great show, and I've tried to get a lot of people to watch it. I've covered it. I covered the pilot episode on pilot season, which is really fun. So if you wanted to see my perspective on the pilot episode, MJC and I go into a lot of embarrassing stories, as we always do. Always go back to our dating history and high school experiences when we get together. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. Yeah. The show just tends to bring it out of you, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I love it. Thank you for inviting me.
No, it's no problem. And I have to know, so do you have a favorite character? Do you have a least favorite character? Are you team Paxton? Are you team Ben? What's going on here?
Oh, wow. Okay. I mean, I'm team Devi, and Porque no los dos is sort of how I go into this. You're like in your teen years, like why do you have to just have fun, do what you want to do without hurting anyone if you can. But yeah, I love Devi. I love Devi, and I remember a lot of the stuff that when she like customized her outfit in episode 1 and like cut her skirt like real short, and you see like the threads hanging because she like has no experience with sewing or hemming clothes. Like just remembering that, and like, okay, how can I make this cool or like sexier? And like that's her ideas like of making like a schoolgirl skirt just like a little shorter with threads hanging from it. Like just that is I remember doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Davey all the way.
Cool.
I know. Living for Davy's like shenanigans, right? Like my God.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what a queen. Thankfully, she's in our lives. And with that, I feel like we should start our show or our episode rather. We already started the show. Where, it's called Never Have I Ever Said I'm Sorry. And truer words have never been spoken for Devi, because my God, right? Like her shenanigans, her hot mess has like finally come to a head, enough to where our girl wakes up in a different room. And John McEnroe tells us, y'all, it's not, a redecoration. It is, she is in fact in Ben's house.
Yeah.
Which doing, girl?
She has she wakes up to like a Doobie Brothers background. It seems like Ben's dad is kind of obsessed with this band. And so Davey wakes up in his huge home. And then you have to wonder, like, well, how did she end up here? Well, you remember on the last episode, it ended with her telling Melanie, I wish it was you who had died. I wish it was you. You were the parent that I had lost. And so it seems like Davey has moved out. She decided to just go ahead and leave. Now, Sasha, you and I talked about it last time. If I had said those words to my mom, I probably got kicked out anyway. Yeah. So it's probably best that she went ahead and separated herself from that. But this does show the magnitude of just what those words meant for her. Like, she's leaving because she was so hurt. She also hurt her mom a lot, and she doesn't want to go to India. So Davy's dealing with a lot right now.
Yeah, Karen, like, have you ever been threatened to like get sent to another country or like boarding school? Because oh my gosh, that's all my family did, I feel.
No, if anything, my mother encouraged me to like go explore the world. So it's sort of the opposite. Yeah, I didn't get that sort of like you're forced to go wherever. I was like, no, I want to stay here, but like, okay, I'll do that. So I didn't relate to that, but also I do remember feeling like, oh, I wish I like lived somewhere else, or like, I can't stand it here. Everyone kind of has that experience where they just they're somewhere where they don't want to be. And then that they're forced to sort of make a change because something, detrimental is about to happen. Like what's happening to Devi is like, this is a huge deal. Yeah. How about you?
Yeah, no, 100%. And my mom, yeah, it was 100% you're gonna go to boarding school if you don't act right. Or when we moved here, it was like, we're gonna send you back to India to study harder if you like don't act right. Because I no homework, I ain't homework. I was doing homework in class. Like I was that girl. So it was very much like you're gonna get sent back and you're actually gonna have to work hard.
Oh, okay, wait, no. For me, it was like, okay, I wanted to get like a pet or something. Or like maybe I would say something that my mom didn't like. She'd be like, "You're gonna go live in the garage." That's what she told me. You're gonna go live in the garage because it was detached.
Wow.
So it was sort of like
That's
its own
hilarious.
thing.
I would have lived for that. Like, give me my own house. Yeah, tell me I'm gonna go live in the
Right?
garage. Chappelle would have been like yes, absolutely. I'm moving out here. Don't come in here unless I tell you to. So yeah, I wish. No, my mom always just sent me to go. So, like she would always say I had to go live with my dad, and so that was what we would fight about because I was not going to do that. Like my mom was strict, but I didn't even know what he was capable of. I was like, well, he might even be worse than her, so I have to stick with this one because I know what she's about.
Well,
But
that's
yeah,
the
so
thing is the unknown for Davy, right?
yeah, India,
We're
she
gonna
doesn't know
get
what it's gonna be like.
right. Like
Yeah.
I think we're gonna get into this, but Davy knows nothing about India. Ben knows more about India than Davy, right? Like this is the scene that
Yes.
we're going into.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Okay. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, she ends up she gets to air the breakfast, right? And she's living her best life at breakfast where she's talking a little bit about I'm eating a meat lover's omelet that obviously was given to her not by herself, but the housekeeper that cooked it. Living large, living lavish. And of course our girl says, meat lovers omelet. I can't do that in India because vegetarians and Mr. Know-it-all Ben. Oh my god, just like drags, and it's like actually only 20 to 30% of Indians are vegetarian.
Yeah. Ben seems to know more about India than Davy. And when I first saw this, I was thinking like, Ben, how dare you try to mansplain India to an Indian woman? And then I'm like, oh wait, no, Davy just doesn't know what she's talking about because she just exaggerates about a little bit of everything. It seems like she's just talking to be talking. And so like she even says like, oh, I'm the first Indian kid who's ever run away. Well, second, if you add Mowgli
Mowgli.
from the Jungle Book. And Ben tells her like, no, Mowgli didn't even run away. So I was like, okay, well maybe David just doesn't know anything about India, which could
Yeah.
like Karen was saying, that contributes to why she probably doesn't want to go.
Yeah, and it seems like they have visited India before because she does in the last episode say why can't we go to Aspen to visit instead of India? So I'm assuming they go to India a lot, but oh my god, living there and vacationing, two different things. And I can say that like as someone that's done both, not a joke to live there, but it's just we're just getting how over her head she is. But Chappelle, like, how does she even get to Ben's? That's what I feel like we need to get to first.
Yeah, like so of course she has nowhere else to turn, right? So she's made enemies with all her friends basically. She's made her mom mad. The only other friend she really has is Paxton, who I mean, aside from kissing him, are they really friends? And he probably doesn't really want to talk to her after Melanie is just like yelled at him and called him stupid and all kinds of stuff. So she has nowhere else to go. She's in the hallway and Ben is still worried about, oh my gosh, what about that kiss that happened the night before? But Davy's had a lot of life lived in the last like day or so. So she's just like, yeah, about that. Can I just live with you? And so, yeah, now here she is living in Ben's big lavish home.
Yes.
Yeah. And so just by happenstance, she just happens to live with her mortal enemy. That's Davy's life.
Enemy, right.
Mm-hmm.
Karen, do you think that Ben was just kind of feel her out about the kiss when he was like, did I do, anything wrong? Like, if I did, alcohol was doing its thing. Like, this man really said thing.
Yeah, so I think this is just him trying to be like, oh, that just save face. He's trying to save face. He knows he remembers. He knows she remembers. And he's just trying to be like, look, it wasn't me. It was the alcohol. Like, let's go back to the way it was if I made things awkward. Right. And so it was the kiss that didn't happen twice.
Yeah,
just
twice.
trying to recover from that. That's what I think.
Yeah. Oh my god, poor guy. Bless his heart. He's so like bad at life. And then and then we get to Ben's house, right? And our guy, I feel like Nemesis turned like friend here because he's like, have you heard from your mom? What's going on? But I don't know. I felt like, I don't know about y'all, but I felt that he wasn't like rushing her because I could see this going the like classic trope. Oh, you don't want me here either? Great. I'm going to, do
Mhm.
something more erratic. But it seemed to be a really genuine conversation about, have you heard from your mom? Like, what's going on with y'all? Because Ben's surprised she hasn't called the cops
Yeah.
on him.
I think and Karen, you'll have to tell me if you agree or not, but I think Ben's thing is that because his family isn't so tight knit, that he appreciates what, like Davy has more than she does. He's like, well, why hasn't your mom called? Like, I know your family is about that. I mean, my family, they could be wherever and they wouldn't really care. But like, I'm surprised your mom hasn't called the cops. So Karen, do you feel like it's because Ben is able to be on the outside looking in, he can probably see it a lot more clearly than like someone like Davy, who, she's kind of clouded by all the
Yeah.
things that are going on right now.
Right. So with what's going on with Ben, it's interesting because she definitely doesn't know what she has good going for her. She's very much everything she sees is according to her problems, her anger, and even the good things, she's twisting it to justify her anger for those things and justify what she wants. So, it's interesting because she goes to Ben's house and starts living Ben's life, a place of luxury, empty luxury, uh, and no like love or family, which Ben lives every day, right? And so she's enjoying it because she's finally getting what she thinks she wants, and then he's sort of seeing it from like he lives this every day, right? And what he is missing, he's starting to think like, well, he would probably hate for someone to lose that, something that he thinks would be really precious.
Yeah.
So I think that's where he's coming from, is seeing it from the outside and not having.
Mm.
And I think that definitely informs like the way he manages and is very soft with Davy, I think,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and
Yeah. And we
protective
know
of that for her.
Yeah, and we know that he really cares about family, right, Karen? Because what I didn't think about this until you said it, that he even says y'all have dinner every night together. So he's already like, why are you messing up a good thing, man? Like, this is not what you want. This is like pretty on the outside, but not on the inside moment, I think, for Ben. And we do hear Davy, unfortunately, say, I don't think my mom wants me back. And then Ben just says, well, why don't you apologize? My God.
Yeah.
And Davy, this like sends her on another weird spiral because, she says she's ruining my life, obviously, very teenage. And Davy doesn't feel like she needs to apologize, which is just pathetic. I don't know. Like, I know that's a mean, but after saying that to your mom, like, at least do a fake apology. And she's, but all she's worried about, she hasn't even been to Coachella. How can she go to India, y'all?
Look, I have a question for you, Sasha. So you come from India, you live here. Like, if you had to leave, like, did you have a U.S. bucket list that you just hadn't been able to scratch off? Because it sounds like she lives in California, and so she thinks I should be living this life. I should be graduating and going to Coachella and music festivals and stuff. But she's going back to India. Like, is there something on your bucket list in the United States that you just haven't knocked off your list yet?
No, I think I was lucky enough that my family came to visited the US every 2 years since I was 2. So, I think we've
Hmm.
done a little bit everything. I'm also lucky that if I were to move back, I'd move back to Mumbai, which is like it's like New York, versus
Hmm.
I think, or Davy, I think, is gonna go to a little bit more conservative, stricter space. I'm making assumptions, don't come for me, but like in South India, just going off of what we see in season 2. So that's why I just feel that it's very different. Like in Mumbai, where I'm from, I go to the club and come home at 2 a.m. I don't think that's Davy's life at all.
Gotcha. Yeah. It was such a weird statement. Like, I haven't even been to Coachella. I was like, is that your bucket list? Like, is that your like peak? But I guess for a 14-year-old living in California, maybe it is.
Yeah, I'm living in
Um,
LA, I think. I don't know that Bay Area kids care about Coachella so much, but
mhm.
Karen, don't worry because, you know, apparently India is just like Coachella.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, this whole first part of the episode really shows you how little Davy knows about India, for one, or cares to know about it. And I think also that she is so into her own self. Uh, she actually, to be honest, I actually feel like she really otherizes India, like very much. And even Ben knows more. He's even been to India. Like, you could basically, he said it's Coachella's kind of like India. It's just like, and so Ben, who has been to all of these places, he's actually been to Coachella. He's been to India. He knows things about the world. He has lived all this life of luxury and all these opportunities, but what he's missing is what Devi has pushed away. And I think that it's just, that's what I really got out of this first part, is really working on that, where someone has everything but then missing so much, and then someone like Devi who has a more simple life and like in terms of socioeconomic everything else, like she has a more simple life and has family, though, you know, she's gone through a huge loss. It just really highlights those two differences and how they've come together, and they're sort of dealing with their ish together, and kind of wishing they were in each other's shoes, interestingly.
Yeah, we can see them bonding in this moment. But speaking of Davy's family, we get her at school, and luckily for her, her cousin misses her enough to bring her some toiletries. So we see Kamala walking through the schools of this high school, and she's basically just like, Davy, where have you been? I brought you some toiletries. You need to come home. Your mom is sorry. But Davy asked a specific question. I love this question because she said, did she apologize? Did she say she misses me? And Kamala's like, no, she didn't say it, but she's been acting like she misses you. And this is when you see that Devi is just like, she's like right parallel to her mom and doesn't even realize it, right? Because the same way Devi can't say I'm sorry, Melanie has not said she misses Devi. She has not apologized to Devi about the things that Devi feels either. So it's like, it's no surprise that that Devi's not that she's like this. Imagine your daughter telling you like, I heard you say you didn't want me, basically, or I heard you say that you didn't want to be my mom. And your reaction isn't to immediately say, I'm sorry. I think in the moment she said that's not fair, which is true. She didn't know the context and she doesn't know everything Melanie's going through. But at the same time, you hurt her. And reaching out to say, I'm sorry would be a good thing. We don't have any indication that Melanie said anything to Davy since she left. And so, this is just for me like a mirror image of Davy being exactly like her mom.
And that's why they fight so much, right? Because they're like, Mohan was their buffer because they are so similar. And it's interesting because all we get about her mom allegedly missing her is that, well, she hesitated before she threw out your favorite snacks. And to me, that's like a very Indian, like South Asian trope where it's, your parents don't say you're sorry, but they'll like get you food. And then it'll be like the food. Like when me and my mom sometimes get into a fight, no one's apologizing, but my mom will come up and be like, your food's ready, or like dinner's ready. And that means like, yo, I'm like, we're done. Let's move on kind of moment. So I felt that in my heart because my mom does apologize, I will say, but I think I have like made it where I was like, I need this apology. Like, you need to say this. And then I'll be like, and I also apologize, but you also need to say this. So, but I can, again, I've seen that with my parents, with everyone's like Indian parents where they're just like, food's ready. Or, do you want fruit? I cut it for you. Like, that's the like apology.
It's like a good gesture, like I did this nice thing for you, so let's get over it. And so, but this episode is called Never Have I Ever Said I'm Sorry. And it looks like this entire family is struggling with that. And so I always think that is pretty cool to look at because it's not like Davy just picked this up out of nowhere. Melanie's so like always talking about how outrageous she is, but I mean, she's a chip off the old block. So, not surprised here.
Yep. Yeah. Poor Mohan. He's the buffer. But and I just couldn't stop laughing at how Devi was like, they have 2-ply paper at Ben's. So if she's trying to move me to India, and I'm not moving because they got 2-ply toilet paper, plus they run their dishwasher. What more do I need in life? Like, I'm out.
Yeah, but Kamala says they would have maids in India. Like she said, like we would have someone do that for us, our servants, I believe she said.
Yeah, that's
so,
true.
Like, Yeah, so I'm like, well, Davy, what are you talking about? Again, Davy doesn't know what she's talking about. Karen made a
I
good point.
agree. Again, I felt, and we were like middle class. I was raised by a single mom in India. Like we shared a room, but yeah, labor is very cheap. There's a billion people, so we had maids. Like I didn't learn how to do the dishes till I moved to America. Like I didn't have to ever until I was 14. So it's so weird. Like cleaning also very hard for me because never had to before.
Never
So
have I
it's just
ever.
literally. So, Davy girl, you're missing out. They're very helpful, I will say. And like our maids are now, like I even go visit them now. Like when I go back to India, like they come see me and bring me food. Like it's really sweet. They become a part of your life. So I do think that there is parts of India that are like beautiful. I just don't think it's for Davy though. I would not
Yeah.
move a child like Davy to India. And then we do get like this unfortunate flashback from the realtor where Nalini, calls the realtor to say, or trying to say that they're about to, they need to sell the house. And the realtor talks about Mohan and how, oh, yeah, you're right. You probably need a bigger house now. Da da da. And then unfortunately, Nalini has to relive her trauma. And I'm assuming this probably happens a lot for Nalini and we know Devi that they constantly have to relive this trauma over and over again of being like, well, they're not here anymore. They're not here anymore. They're not here anymore. And I don't know, Karen, like I think the realtor meant well, but she says, Mohan really loved the house. That's a shame. I don't know. What are your thoughts about that and like this whole moment?
Well, I mean, the realtor, she only has that experience
Yeah,
with this family.
true.
So, I mean, it's probably not the greatest thing to say, but she also can't read Nalini's mind and like
Right.
doesn't see, but I think it's those moments I think that realtors have with families. Like it's when they purchase the house and they help their clients like find the home of their dreams. And I think if you just like look at the whole when they play the U2 song, like it was probably a very powerful moment for the realtor, like that she remembered like their names, the house that she sold to them. And I think they just did that to highlight like how impactful that sale was to that realtor because it was so meaningful to that family. And so it's like I definitely, even though that was a very like boring moment in the episode, I still cried because I'm currently living in the first house I purchased with my husband, and I was just thinking like, yeah, I'm very attached to this house. It's like it was our first like big purchase together and it means a lot. And I could totally relate to that and just imagining like sort of looking back at that moment in a sad way would just be very hard. So that was a sad moment. What do you feel like why do you think this scene is in the show? Chappell, what do you think?
I think this is just the Mohan loving Southern California and just showing that he had high hopes for the family being here. He talks about like, this is where we'll have our garden. This is where our kids will get married. They were supposed to grow old in that house in the valley. It's LA's Responsible Sister. The song Beautiful Day by U2 is playing. Like, this is just to show that like, this house means a lot to them. But Mohan, this was his dream, to have his, like, he raise his people here. And, Nalini thinks about that every time she comes to that house, even if you think about it. So like, yeah, she wants to go to India because looking at that home and the garden and the area where she remembers those moments that she had with Mohan, and she's like, I want to get away from that. I don't want to wake up every day remembering the grief or remembering that the love of her life is gone. So I think they put that in there to just kind of remind us that even though this show is about Devi, Nalini is feeling these things too. And I think that's the reason why Devi's reacting how she does. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later when Nalini meets with Dr. Ryan. But yeah, she has connected to this house in many other ways. It's not just I live in California and I want to move my child to India. She would be moving away from a lot of memories and a lot of hard things. And I think if she doesn't want to get away from that, then that makes sense too. Like, she might not want to let go of those memories of Mohan. So that move to India is that much more important to her. Like, if she's willing to get that moment and just leave it behind, then yeah, maybe she's really in dire straits and she needs to be around a support system because this is not working. So I think that's why they included it. And yeah, I agree. It's a sad moment. I know it looks happy, but in deep down, it got me in the feels again.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's there's a lot of conflict with her, and letting go of moving past it and also letting go of it. And does she want to let it go of it? It's like cutting the dream short. The dream has been cut short. And I think it's part of a larger storyline, like getting into season 2. So I think that's part of it, is about the whole like moving on, and is she ready? So it sounds like she is, but then suddenly she's not, because she's brought back to these memories.
I agree.
Yeah, I also want to say that to me also it seems like it's Mohan's dream. I don't know that it is Nalini's dream. I mean, she didn't even want to buy the house in the first place, so I can't imagine. I mean, I can't even stay the night like alone in my house sometimes. Like I'll have to turn all the lights on and be like, this is stressful. So I can't imagine if like, whatever. I don't even want to say it, right? Like that, if something like that ever were to happen to me, I 100% would be moving. Like there's no way in hell. So I just kept thinking about how painful. I think because last episode when I was talking, I was very critical of Nalini, but now all of a sudden I felt like I see what she means. As I think now as an adult, like I understand that dynamic a little bit better than I think I did even a few years ago. So it's really unfortunate the moment that Nalini is in, and that the world, like the universe has kind of put her in. You deserve better, girl. You will get better. And speaking of awkward moments, why does her girl at school, Devi, speak to Paxton? And she just won't stop. Like he's trying to avoid her like the plague, and all he says is like, "Yeah, sorry about your mom." But I don't think he cares at all. This man literally is trying to avoid her, but Chappelle, she's just trying to hang out with her guy.
Devi has tunnel vision. She thinks that Paxton and being with Paxton is the solution to all her problems. She's lost her friends. She's, separated herself from her family. She's living in her arch nemesis' house. She's like, at least I can have Paxton. And no, you can't. You can't just have Paxton. It's not going to solve all your problems. But Devi doesn't see that. And Paxton is still upset about the conversation that he had on her doorstep with Nalini. And Nalini basically told him that he's just out here going to knock her up and, be her dumb baby daddy. Like that's basically what she said. And God. So, he's not okay with that. And I don't think he should be. No. But Devi is definitely using him. Like she's trying to use him as a crutch, like, well, at least I have that. And she's been acting like that the entire season. She thinks that being with Paxton Hall Yoshida is going to solve all her problems, and it just won't. So yeah, it's kind of sad that this is happening. But I'm like KFC. I'm Team Devi. So I kind of need her to shake this off a little bit because it's not a good look.
Yeah, and thankfully the principal interrupts because I feel like she's just about to dig her even deeper. But thankfully, principal, who we haven't seen in a while, I feel like is here for the rescue. Thank goodness. And that was like the last time, Paxton and Devi talk, I feel. And then speaking of, amazing Black women, it's time. Dr. Ryan is back, y'all. And of course, we get the therapies for white people trope, like from the bat. Nalini is like, I'm here for Devi. Therapies for white people. Why am I here? I mean, clearly there are a few exceptions, but therapies for white people.
She points to Dr. Ryan. Dr. Ryan looks down at her skin. It's just like it was just awkward.
Right. But it's like
with her?
Is Devi white people? Because Devi's been in therapy all year. So I don't really know why Nalini just feels like, oh, no, this isn't for us. But it's like she's doing it just to appease people. Like, I put my daughter in therapy, yes. But it's definitely a problematic view, though. And we have to talk about it because I know in my community, it's something that is definitely frowned upon for years and years and years. And people like in the African-American community have definitely been open in their mind to the idea of therapy. I think it's for a number of reasons, honestly. I think like we when I was younger, it was always that we were taught to keep matters in our own home. And I think a large part of that is that like there was always like a stigma growing up with being a black person, like, oh, like maybe they're like a thug, or they're a criminal or something, just from years of like Jim Crow and oppression and stuff like that. And so I think for people of color, they would just like say, okay, well, keep that in the house, so then we don't make each other look bad, or you don't like get profiled or something like that, and we don't want people to think bad about us because we already had such a bad public image. So fear of judgment is probably like one of the things that I always looked at, but also socioeconomic reasons. Therapy is not cheap. And so like if you come from a family that can't afford it, then you just don't get help. And honestly, that's an endless cycle, because if you don't get help, your kids ain't getting help. And, like you just keep passing those problematic traits, like we see in Davy and Melanie, probably, down from generation to generation. So I'm glad that they kind of like address it, but I really wish they had talked about it a little bit more, because Melanie just says it and Dr. Ryan kind of just like, she doesn't perceive it. She's just like, you know what? That's problematic. I'm not going to deal with it. But honestly, it's a conversation that needs to happen in a lot of minority households for sure.
Oh, 100%. I know even for immigrant families, right? Like saying anything but like being the model, it's like if you even stray a little bit, it's like, no, how dare you? Like we have, this is the American dream. We have to act a certain way. We have to become doctors or lawyers or engineers. And that's it. So it unfortunately just feels so real, where Nalini is like struggling to speak her feelings, because Dr. Ryan even starts to say, well, how is, going to, because Nalini ends up sharing that she's going to India, and Dr. Ryan starts to, have this conversation, trying to like pull stuff out of Nalini. And she immediately says, no, you're not going to get me. Like, I see what you're doing there. And it's unfortunately really sad for me to watch, because she's a doctor. Nalini herself is a doctor. Like, she should know better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's this big shame thing in a lot of places, a lot of cultures, a lot of different countries. And so it's not even just mental health. Like, it's health conditions, learning disabilities and difficulties. A lot of these things are hard for a lot of families to talk about. And I guess in a way, like Devi actually being in therapy, I think that's what it takes for Nalini to also finally, maybe hug a ceramic piece and kind of be in touch with herself for a moment. So I think that was nice for her to see her be a little comforted, and also to be honest with her own feelings. That was really nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that this show normalizes therapy too. Like we see Devi in therapy in both our seasons, not to spoil season 2, but Devi is constantly in therapy, and we know that she had this traumatic moment, and just like had they removed that, Devi probably still be in a wheelchair. Don't get me wrong, she did get out of the wheelchair because she saw Paxton Hayashida, but you don't know the impact that therapy is having. And so I'm so glad that they show it and they keep it in the story. But yeah, Nellini's views are problematic, and like I said, no shock, because look at Devi.
Yeah. Oh, it's really sad. And I do appreciate Dr. Ryan, kind of having Davies back here, explaining that changing geography does not change the problems. It's still going to be an issue for Davy. And Nalini, unfortunately is like, yeah, but she needs to be in an environment that values discipline, which is like, what? Like, India is not like this completely disciplined place. It's not like it's, Sweden or something, I don't know, where it's like there's no issues. Cops are corrupt, everyone's corrupt. What do you mean? Like, this Nalini even has this rosy colored, like glasses when it comes to India, where she's like, it's going to help me. I'm going to have family help me. And that's, period. That's all that's happening. But she does agree that she's tough on Devi. And I appreciate Dr. Ryan saying, well, let her know. Like, why aren't you talking with your child about this? And I know, Chappell, you and I talked about this last time, where we were partners with our moms in having decision, when decisions were being made for the family almost. So it seems like Nalini maybe is being pushed that way to bring her family back together. And it's Mohan's birthday is what we end with, where, and he'd just be so sad if he knew that they weren't talking, which was heartbreaking.
I think here Nalini is really focusing on the what but doesn't think about the why. And I think that's when it gets into what, like, why is there a problem? It's not just Devi. It's right. And that's where tables turn a little bit. Well, not tables turn. Well, the things shift from, it's not just all about Devi, but it's all about the whole family. And so I thought that was, I didn't expect that to happen in this scene. So that was interesting.
Yeah, and Nellany's always projecting strength. Dr. Ryan calls her out about this, like, it could help you for Davy to see you fall apart. And not to get too personal, but yeah, when my mom and it was me, my mom, and my brother for a while, and I could see that she was having a hard time, which is why I was so ready to do whatever it took to support my mom. And to this day, if she needs something, I'm Johnny on the spot with that kind of stuff, because I know that, like, I've been there, I've seen it. But with Nellany projecting strength all the time, Sasha talked about this in the last episode. It was really hard for us to be kind to Nellany in the last episode with her interaction with Davy and Kamala, because it was like, why are you acting like this? You're being so like abrasive toward your daughter who's going through some stuff. But it's because Nellany's always projecting strength. You don't know that she too is going through stuff, and Davy can't see it. Davy only sees her worldview. She's a teenager, so of course she thinks the world revolves around her. But like when her mom's just walking around like throwing away her favorite snacks and telling her she can't do stuff, like if Nellany showed Davy, hey, I'm struggling too, Davy might be a little bit more forgiving and be a lot kinder to her mom and want to be more supportive. And so that's what Dr. Ryan is definitely trying to say. Like, maybe letting her see you fall apart will be the thing that brings y'all back together. And so, yeah, this scene right here is just like, yeah, it hit me in the feels again, because I've been there. I have definitely been there.
Yeah, I think being honest with your feelings is a big thing here. So if you were being honest, Mom, with your feelings, maybe Davy would. Or if you showed that you're dealing with grief, maybe Davy would deal with her grief and not, it not just be 0 and 100 times of anger all the time. There could be something in between, maybe sadness, and it could be this still angry, a sad angry, but at least something where she can kind of process and start to feel better. I think highlighting the people around you really affecting you is very powerful here.
Yeah. And speaking of highlights, because poor Davy's phone, Davy's over here looking at her man's on Instagram or whatever their fake social media is, and then comes a memory. You have a memory from Dad's birthday. Why'd they do this? Like, that was so hard.
They wanted you to cry. They were trying to get you. They show us like the Snapchat story, and I am guilty of this. When someone in my life dies, I do not delete the contact. Some of my closest friends that have passed, especially with COVID, like one of my best friends, a couple of my best friends passed during COVID actually, but like I didn't delete anything. Like I still would like to go and see the name and the contact. And then when I see it, I get sad, but I don't delete it. And so yeah, I definitely this year and in past years really too, just seeing those memories pop back up. It always happens when you least expect it though. You're kind of like just minding your own business and you're like, oh my gosh, that person's gone. And so yeah, this was tough. Again, this episode right here is trying to get you. I just feel like it's like a trap. Yeah. Like every twist and turn is trying to make you cry.
Seriously. And then, of course, our friend Ben says, Davy, you have a visitor. What makes her think? Because the words that come out of her mouth is Paxton. Not Mom, not Kamala, but Paxton. Why?
It's all she cares about. It's all she cares about. KFC. Like, what is wrong with Davy here? Is she just like boy crazy, or is Paxton just the solution to her life?
Both, right? Isn't that both? Like that's you have a visitor. Like she's just constantly like it's. I think the serotonin she gets every time she thinks of him. It makes her feel better. She feels happy. She looks forward to everything Paxton. She's obsessing over his social media. So I think it's a serotonin boost.
Yeah, just helps her. Oh, yep. She's like, someone's here. It's got to be the hot guy, and so, but
it's never the hot guy. Come on, please.
She's new to this. She's still young, but it's Nellany with a box of chocolate, and we know how Nellany loves this candy. she can't show up to anywhere without it. Sasha, again, the candy.
Yeah, it's a damn C's candies box. I was like, girl, hang it up. Like, why? And she didn't even want to bring it. That's the joke. She's like, no, I need you to take it. And the housekeeper is like, no, Whole30 diet. Like, I forget her name, but Mrs. Gross like does not want that in the house. I was like, this is just from the start. Nalini's on defense, where she's like, I don't even want to give you this candy, but here I am giving you the candy, so you're gonna take the candy. And then Nalini and Devi have this kind of awkward like high moment, and then Nalini just says, I just don't want to fight anymore. She looks so tired and exhausted. And, she just says, what we're going to do is it's your dad's birthday today and we're going to spread his ashes. So I hope that you can come. Of course, our Queen Devi decides that is a direct attack on her life. And she says, oh, because you want to do a little spring cleaning before you go to India. Is that why you want to do this? Oh, like, leave your dead dad alone, dude. What are you doing?
Yeah. No, this is another example of Nalini not apologizing, right? She says, I don't want to fight anymore. That's not an apology. So Devi doesn't
That is
actually.
the Indian moms.
Yeah, she's like, I came here. I invited you to the ashes spreading. Like, what? Come on, stop crying. And it's kind of like, well, if you apologize, maybe Devi won't think there's an ulterior motive here. Maybe she won't think that you're just trying to get rid of the ashes so you can leave his memory behind. But Nalini's still not there. She hasn't had the moment where she's realized, like, I have to come clean and say, like, yes, I hurt you and I feel bad about it. You hurt me. We feel bad about it. We're mother and daughter. We need to talk about these things. She's just not there yet. Ugh, it's so annoying. Get there. Come on, man.
Oh, it's so sad to watch. Like, I was like, come on, both of you, get it together. But Devi says, no, I'm not gonna be part of this, because they want to spread Mohan's ashes on his birthday at his favorite place, at a beach in Malibu. But of course, Devi said, absolutely not. I'm not gonna go. It's not happening. And Nalini just leaves. There's no way. My mom would drag me out. I think she would drag me by my hair and just take me. There's just no way.
I think her mom's just tired.
Yeah.
She's tired.
She looks exhausted. She really does. Luckily for Devi, she does have Ben still, and she goes to talk to Ben about like what's going on. And of course, she's so annoyed at Nalini. Like, she comes here, she's like, I want to spread his ashes and go about to India. And Ben's like, wait, you don't want to go? And she's like, yeah, like, I don't want to go do that. She's trying to leave and leave his memory behind. And so she even talks to Ben's dad about emancipation. But obviously she's not fiscally responsible enough or, financially independent to even do that. She doesn't have a job. I think she mentions that Rebecca might be able to give her a job at Old Navy.
Maybe.
Which is interesting because I didn't know her and Rebecca were that close, but okay. But Ben does realize it's.
What do you mean?
Yeah, she did that one modeling assignment with her one time. But Ben realizes at this point that something is up, and he pulls it to the side and just trying to like, she like tries to get to the bottom of it. But she thinks it's a ploy, so she's gonna go Google a credit card and try to go be an adult now. It's very weird. Karen, what did you think about this scene?
Yeah, I think that was the whole. It just further highlights how immature Devi is. That everyone's out to get her. I think that's her very much. She's very much fight or flight all the time. And when she has her mind on something, she's very ambitious, which is why Devi can't stop talking to Paxton, and that one awkward high school hallway scene. And in this case, she's again very, very ambitious. I'm going to go Google how to buy a credit card. Excuse me. And so, like, Ben's trying to give her some perspective on this, like a very adult and mature type perspective. And she's just not having it. She's like, I know better. I'm ready to be on my own, which she clearly is not. And yeah, I thought it was funny, but also like kind of sad.
It is. Yeah. And so Ben takes it upon himself. He has to go meet up with her friends because he knows he needs to back up. Now, Karen, Sasha and I talk a lot about Devi's friends, but I have to know, what do you think about Devi's crew? What do you think about Fab, Eleanor? We don't have to talk about Oliver and Eve that much, but what do you think about Devi's core, like her team, the trio, I guess.
I mean, they're great. They all bring something to the table. And they all make each other better. And it's hard for them to stick together because Devi is very unpredictable and not reliable, and that's a lot of this is very much on Devi. But they're great together. I think they're fun, and Devi makes them better because she's, like I said, she's the ambitious one. And so when they finally get together, we can talk more about that. But I think they need each other. They really need each other.
Yeah. And Ben recognizes it, so he meets them all for coffee. And this is something that I thought was very funny. He had to buy them all what was it, frappuccinos? Like, so he bought what? He bought one for Eleanor and Fab. He bought one for himself. He bought one for Oliver, and he bought one for Eve because Eleanor says, "Well, if it's that urgent, you should be able to afford to hydrate our lovers." I don't think 14-year-olds should be allowed to say lovers. That's just how I feel.
Well, Eleanor is a resident 50-year-old. I think he's the only person that can pull that off. Oh my God. And don't forget Gears Brosnan.
Oh, yes. Gears. Well, he doesn't know he's a robot, apparently. He deserves coffee as well. But I don't think anybody should say the word lovers. I don't care. Like, call them something else. Your significant other, your boyfriend, girlfriend, wife, husband. Lovers? Especially at 14, lovers? Really? So gross. So gross. But yeah, Ben, I guess Ben knew what to do. I just thought that was so funny. Like, Eleanor, you're doing a lot as usual.
Just
gross. That term like belongs from 100 to 200 years ago, right? In like old England. We don't need to we don't need to bring that word into the 21st century.
Especially not for children. Jeez.
God, that was pathetic. But like a mess. And Eleanor, is still in her all beige lifestyle, y'all. And finally they start talking. And Fab says, listen, we're on a friend break. So I don't really care what's going on with Devi. And then Ben King says, you're either friends or you're not. Like, there's no break from friendship. So you need to decide what's going on and then help her because she really needs that help. I couldn't believe that he was able to talk them into this. They were, because they love her. Maybe that's why. But still, it's just she did them dirty.
Yeah, he sees firsthand what she's going through, and I think the fact that she's missing out on spreading her dad's ashes. It's really what, like, regardless of what he says, the moment you hear that someone's not going to be present for that, then like that's your call to action at that point. Friendship, if you are really friends with this person, this is the moment you step up and y'all can make up and deal with the rest of the messy stuff later on. But this is one of those things, like, she's never going to have that moment again, and she's going to regret not doing it. And so it looks like her friends, and I've said this before, her friends are great. So they knew exactly what to do. They sprung into action.
100. And then, going from that, speaking of, having to talk people into things, Rebecca is back, people. And she goes up to Paxton and just says, why hasn't Devi come over? Because I thought y'all kissed. Paxton told Rebecca they kissed.
Maybe David did?
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
I mean, who cares? It's amazing that she knows.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, Paxton loves her, obviously, because he told Rebecca.
Yeah. Maybe, I don't know. This is so weird because you would think Paxton wouldn't tell Rebecca something like that because it seems like he kisses a lot of girls.
Well, he said that.
Yeah, and she says they normally suck. And so I don't know why Rebecca is so invested in this. It actually would bother me if my sibling was this invested in one of my relationships. I'm not gonna lie. It's kind of pushy.
They're really close. Even though Paxton doesn't really let other people know about Rebecca, he lets her know about everyone else, like in everyone's business, in his own business, apparently. So that's kind of, I guess she's his confidant. That scene is amazing. Like, she gaslights him. Like, are you scared that, like, that she's smarter than you? Oh, that was great.
Oh my God. Because he literally was like, because I'm me. I'm cool. I've been going to prom since I was 2 years old, apparently. and she competes in the national spelling bee. Do you know how much money's in the spelling bee, Paxton? You good?
No,
because I know swimming ain't bringing that for you, sir.
He doesn't know what he's talking about, but yeah, I agree here. She just lines him up so good. It's like he's basically saying like I can't like be with Davy because of like I have too much clout, right? Like I'm too popular and she's just a nerd. But Rebecca says, well, if you're not afraid that she's smarter than you, just make no mistake, she is because you are stupid. You are stupid if you don't want to be with Davy. And I do think that's a little far. Like, look, they kissed one time. I don't know, and honestly, I don't know if Davy is girlfriend material at the moment, so maybe we just want to slow down. But yeah, Paxton, at least talk to her. You did kiss her. Y'all obviously like each other to some extent. So, I see what Rebecca's doing there. She just came on a little strong. She definitely like got them together real quick. I think you have to talk to somebody like Paxton like that.
Yeah, because my favorite was when she was like, "Oh man," like she's so disappointed. You are a douche. Like that really shook him because I don't think he was ready for that. I don't think I was ready for her to drag him like that. Oh my god. Whew.
Yeah, Rebecca's iconic. Karen, do you love Rebecca? How much do we love Rebecca?
Yeah,
The real
I was
question.
like,
I mean, on a scale of what?
Yeah, like love to
Like
love,
to
love.
love? Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
like to love.
She's the best. She's the
Yes.
best, right? Like she's us,
yeah,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
literally.
We can see, yeah, she can see that she's seen the episode. So we're like her, like, well, just get
Yeah.
it together. Say you're sorry, apologize, go be nice. You don't have that much clout. You're only in high school. Stop it. But
You
She
look
Paxton's
humbles
30,
him.
but it's okay. No, I'm just kidding.
yeah, Paxton's a teenage boy. It happens. I live that life. Okay, we be dumb sometime.
Look,
Period.
here's the other thing is I think a lot of people on the surface would say, "Wow, Rebecca, you're so lucky to have Paxton," but I think it's the other way around.
Oh
He is
yeah.
lucky to have her.
Yeah,
He's
for
so
sure.
lucky to have her.
She's more grounded than he is. I think she keeps him level, like keeps him from feeling himself too much because everybody is always telling him how perfect he is as far as like his looks and I guess his swimming ability. Like he needs somebody to kind of make sure that he doesn't get too big of a head.
No, I agree. I think she's his moral compass, and I just appreciate that they are part of all of that, if that makes
Yeah,
sense. Oh, it's just a wild ride, man. And then finally it's time, y'all, because Ben does get her friends to come speak to her. And I love how Ben announces them, you have visitors. And she just I would like them to not be here. Thank you. I'm not taking any visitors right now.
that's Melanie's daughter. Okay, well, how do you expect her to react?
Oh my
She
god.
first of all, she's researching emancipated celebrities first when they get there, so she still got her mind on like, okay, how do I divorce my mom? Which is ridiculous. Like, Davy, grow up. But they call her out. They're like, you're gonna miss this. You have to, you're gonna like regret this big moment of yours. Like, you have to be true to yourself. And Davy deflects by being like, well, Eleanor, you're dressed like a park ranger. You're wearing all tan. How are you gonna tell me not to be true to myself when you have been trying to like distance yourself from being like your mom this entire time? I'm like, whoa, Davy, that's that was an attack. I mean, she wasn't wrong, but I mean, she came out the gate swinging.
But here's the thing
Mm.
is she wasn't wrong. She likes to here's the thing is she's saying you're wrong and you're more wrong than I am wrong. And so
Yeah.
she's a very much a one-upper. Like that's
Mhm.
just how Davy is. So yeah, that was just like very shocking in the moment. I mean, not shocking, but also like it took me by surprise because why
Yeah.
they're there. They're there to help her, and she just points the finger right back at them.
Mhm.
Yeah. And not even that, because Ben is like, wake up, people. Like, that's not what you came here for. I appreciate that Davy does apologize. Finally, the apology tour has started. And she does say, give me another chance, please. And then they all make up and start talking. And then Ben is like, and then what? And then I love Fab. She's like, you Jedi mind tricked us. How did you
Right.
do this?
Like, he's like, I didn't bring you here to apologize and make up. I'm glad y'all did, but I didn't bring you here for that. What I brought you here for was that we really need to go make sure that she gets to the ashes spreading. But maybe Ben did want to do all that. I mean, he killed like 3 birds with 1 stone. It was very impressive for somebody like Ben. You don't think he has that much range in the first few episodes, but look at him, King Ben.
Just wow. Our guy.
Yeah, this scene, this is where I wanted to bring it back to Davy and like I think a lot of people would wonder why in this last year have Davy's friends kept Davy as a friend up till recently, and this scene to me proves why. So as soon as she points the finger at Eleanor, within 5 seconds she's already fixed Eleanor, and it's her ambition and the way she pushes her friends to achieve their dreams and get what they want because she's very ambitious. I think that's what she brings to the table, like, and she makes them better, even though she just like really royally screwed up these last 9 episodes. But this is where you see why she is so, like, what she really does for them as a friend, and that she's not just some sort of person screwing over her friends all the time.
Yeah. She's their Melanie. Like, she just tells them what it is. This is why you're messing up. And they need to hear it. They're like, oh, yeah, you're right. I am trying to not be like my mom, and then they all make up. But yeah, that's a good point because and honestly, I think her friends probably deserve a little bit more credit too for just being
Oh yeah.
understanding that, they watched this traumatic thing happen to her and they've been friends with her forever. So they're probably a lot more forgiving to her than we could ever be because they watched this happen to her. So there's things that she'll do that they'll apologize to. They'll look at each other and say, you know what? It's fine. She went through a lot of stuff and they've probably been giving her chances upon chances. But yeah, they definitely all compliment each other. It's really good to see them all together again. But they need to keep their eye on the prize because it's 4:55, Sasha, and they have to get to the Ashes spread. They got 5 minutes.
Don't worry. Ben can get them there. I was also so we get in the car. Ben says, I got it. I'm going to drive because, he has a learner's permit. So he's fine. But I have a question. Why wouldn't Fab and Eleanor go with them? Like, shouldn't this be a foursome instead of just Ben and her? Or is that like we're suspending reality from now on?
I did wonder about that. I was like, what happened to Eleanor and Fab? Like, did they just stay behind and like lounge in the pool? Like, how did they get home? Like, what is, I'm confused. Because presumably Ben brings them over, right? Like, and does Ben have the time to like order them an Uber? Like, I don't understand like how.
Oh yeah, they probably
Ubered.
That? Okay.
I don't know. Who knows? But I don't know. That's a really good question.
No, I don't think I ever thought about that either. Because you would think she'd want her. Yeah, you would think she'd want her closest friends there.
Yes.
But maybe he's like, okay, maybe they only had enough time to come over and talk to her really quickly, and they're like they had to go, and so he like sends them on an Uber or something. I don't know. He didn't have time to drop them off because he is driving so slow.
Oh my God. Like, literally, I could walk faster probably than this guy. And he's very stressed because, again, only learner's permit. So either slowly, somehow they do make it home, though. But not before Nalini and Kamala have left. Kamala did ask Nalini to wait a little bit, but Nalini says, nah, she's not coming. I was very surprised they left. I will say that.
Or even didn't call or ask Kamala to call.
Right.
Just to check. Like, are you on your way? Like, we're about to leave.
And why wouldn't Kamala call herself? Isn't that weird too?
Well, wouldn't Kamala be like, show?
Are you coming? Yeah. I know that it needed to be dramatic in Malibu, but I was very stressed because I was like, why is your phone off when you're driving from the valley to Malibu? That's one. And then secondly, like, it does not make sense when your child isn't there that you wouldn't keep your phone on. Off. Yeah, or on. Whatever.
Yeah. I mean, if anything, like, this whole series did not have to exceed like one episode if they just communicated a little bit better.
Right.
Everyone. So, I mean,
like, this could have been an email.
That's true. Yeah. That's true. This part where I was just like, Mindy, you lost me a little bit. But, it's fine because even though Ben is struggling on the highway, like, he cannot. He does get her to Malibu where she needs to be. And now they're at the beach. Davy's screaming, but unfortunately, they can't hear her. They're too busy throwing roses in the water, y'all.
Look, water is very loud, okay?
Yeah, I mean, the beach is like, I don't think you can hear people at the beach.
It's very noisy.
Yeah, and she's yelling at the top of her lungs, but she cannot be heard. But this is when we have the funniest cameo of all time. John McEnroe, who has been the narrator of the show for the last 9 episodes, has decided to just show up on screen. And it catches me off guard every time. Like this time, I was ready for it. I was like, okay, so this is when John McEnroe shows up, but he legit just walks up to Davy on the beach and just like, "Hey, Davy!" Like, well, he doesn't know her name, but he's just like, "Hi, do you need something?" And her initial response is John McEnroe. And I just laugh every time. Like,
Oh my
what
God.
child can recognize John McEnroe?
Listen, Mohan's child, that too. Because the best part was that it's not even that it's John McEnroe. I love that John McEnroe, the narrator, was like, "Oh, look, it's me." So it's like Loki. There's many variants of John McEnroe because this John McEnroe at Malibu does not know Davy.
Not at all. But Davey knows him because this is Mohan's like idol. It's his favorite person in the world. He's the biggest John McEnroe fan that ever lived, and so she tells him the whole rundown. She's just like, "I've been a shitty daughter, and my family is like deserting me, and they're spreading my dad's ashes without me, and I need help." But as we know, if we have learned nothing else from Never Have I Ever, John McEnroe is very loud. And he has no issue doing the shouting for Davy. And so he starts yelling and yelling and yelling. And of course, Kamala and Nalini see him from looks like 100 yards away, maybe.
Yeah.
They can see that it's John McEnroe. Is that John McEnroe? And that is just so funny to me. Like, I don't think I would, if it wasn't for Never Have I Ever, I would not be able to recognize John McEnroe on the street. But now he's like a household name for me. If I saw John McEnroe, I'd probably cry. Like, I'd be so excited.
Narrate my life.
Exactly.
Oh my God. I know. And I love that when he screams, everyone stops. And they're like, "Yes, John McEnroe, we're here." And then Davey's like, Baywatch running down, poor girl. And she said, "Is it over? Is it over? Did you do it?" And then she does, apologize. And she says, "I'm so sorry," or a version of that. I don't think she still says the words. But of course, Nalini is, while that's happening, while John McEnroe is yelling, Nalini does say, "I can't do this without my daughter," and starts to close the urn. But thankfully, it's okay. She, they're all together in the same spot, and Davy's running down. She does say, "I'm sorry," and Nalini unfortunately agrees that I also wish sometimes I died instead of your dad.
Oh my
Which is
gosh.
when I don't know. I lost it. Maybe because I just got back from my mom's house. But oh my God, I was just like, no, this is so sad. And Nalini, I think it's the most beautiful line. She says, "You're my only family. Like, I do want you around." And I think that's what just like lost it. Oh, it was so good.
Yeah, Karen, what did you think about this moment? This is like the sadness, this is like the emotional, climax of the entire season. What you think?
Oh, I mean, this this was hard to watch, but also I needed to see this, at this point after all of this tension and all the hardships that both of them had gone through, and just everyone's love for each other, and even for Moan. Like, I don't have my own children. Hopefully one day, if I'm lucky enough to, I will. But you know what? Like, knowing my husband, like, he is my rock, and he is like, if we had kids, like, he would be the good parent and like the one who keeps everyone together. And there's no way, like, like that, like, they could probably survive without me, but they could not ever survive without him, kind of thing. So I feel like I feel her in that way. Like, the rock, the foundation, and like the person that keeps it together is gone, and you kind of wish, like, everything right now is falling apart. And I think that there are times where Davy's mom really, really just feels hopeless, and is just like almost drowning at times. And I think finally it's just maybe, like Dr. Ryan was saying, maybe you need to fall apart for this to finally, for everyone to kind of come together. And I think vulnerability can be some sort of kind of glue or bond that can, kind of bring you back together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something
And
people can kind of grab onto, whereas being strong and cold all the time, that's not relatable. That's not relatable at all. That's hard for
yeah.
people.
I know, and with that, they do have a moment together where Nalini says a prayer, and they do put the ashes into the river. Happy birthday, Mohan! And you're in your place, in your favorite, beach, and there we are. Um, Davy, it's like this. Finally, I feel like we get this beautiful flashback instead of the like traumatic flashbacks where, Davy's like getting all these happy memories show up, which I think if I were to get flashbacks of someone that's passed on, that's what I'd want, not like a screaming, you know, fighting match, right? At a harp recital. So maybe I think the writers are also trying to tell us that we are maybe turning a new leaf. Let's pray for Devi and Nalini together and, put that they're done and they're now walking back. And you thought it was done, but it's not done yet.
Oh
It's
man.
not done yet. No.
Oh my god, because Davy's just like, listen, U2's Beautiful Day starts playing, which we saw when they were selling the house, or sorry, buying the house. And then Davy asked, can we have pancakes for dinner? Only if you come home. And Davy, of course, was like, well, yeah, obviously, I'm coming home, bro. And then
Yeah.
the car is there, Chappelle. What's going on?
So before she goes, she finds Ben still there. He stayed the entire time. He's been sleeping in his car, and so he wakes her up and he asks, like, "Hey, did you make it on time?" Like, and she's just surprised that he stayed. He's like, "Of course I stayed. What are you talking about?" And this is the moment. This is where we all say, "Oh my god!" Because Davy gives Ben this kiss that he's not even ready for, and then he kisses her back, and they're just making out in the car. People are crying at home. We're fist pumping.
Yeah.
Like, it's
It's
so good.
yeah.
It's such a good moment.
It's awesome, but also like the skeptical viewer in me is like, there's no way her family did not wonder where she had gone or why she stepped into some random person's car and did not see that happening. Just saying.
Yes. She's like,
Oh,
I'll be right.
God.
I'll be right back. I need to go make out with somebody real quick. Just give me like 5 minutes. And so, but she does, and the whole time she's making out with Ben, she's getting phone alerts because Paxton has been calling and he's leaving her a voicemail because now he wants to hang out with her. And that's how we end season 1. We have Paxton calling and Ben kissing, and Davy's got it all. Why not both, Karen? Why not both?
That's right. Yeah. There's actually a couple of things I also wanted to mention. About the just tying a bow on the whole theme of grief this season. I think they did a really good job. I too still have good and bad flashbacks. And they come when you don't expect them. They get triggered by really weird random things. And I think they were very realistic about it. Like it wasn't like I'm wondering where this all came from, the storytelling, like who wrote this or whose idea what this was or what personal experiences this comes from, but very realistic. And I think the way they like you could just watch this first season and let it end that way. And I think it kind of completely covered that theme. Like you don't feel like it's left that there's anything unanswered. So I thought that was really well done in this season. And I mean, it continues a little bit into the next season, but I felt like it was complete by the end of this one. And like obviously they're still going to go through things, but I think you got to see all facets of grief, which was really cool. So I liked that. And then the second one, so my second point was, I can see why Ben, like, I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but have you ever driven with someone who was very stressed out, like a passenger who was not only a backseat driver, but also making you drive worse? That's happened to me. Has that ever happened to you where you just drove worse because someone was like very stressed or like criticizing your driving?
Yeah, my mom. Yeah.
Okay.
My mom. Sasha and I lived that life. That's yes, absolutely.
I just wanted to
Sasha,
bring that up because I was thinking about that today.
no, Sasha, you learned how to drive in Oklahoma City
Yeah,
or
and
Tulsa?
Tulsa. Yeah,
Tulsa.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So Tulsa is not like a lot of traffic, right? So you had like a lot of road to practice on, right? I learned how to drive in Houston on like a 6-way highway with my mom yelling at me. One time I was like, I'm going to stop the car. And she's like, you cannot stop the car on the freeway. I was like, I'm going to stop the car. I'm getting out of the car and I'm moving to New York so I can never drive again. We had that fight
Oh
while I
my
was
God.
driving.
Yes.
I was like, I will stop this car on the freeway. And to this day, it's so funny. Knock on wood, I am such a good driver, but a lot of that isn't all your fault. A lot of times when people get in accidents and stuff, but knock on wood, I've been blessed. And even when I ride with my mom now, like I can tell she just really wants to like make life harder for me by correcting everything I do. I'm like, listen, it's gonna be okay. Calm down. Calm down. And she'll remind me, like, remember that time you said you're gonna move to New York because you didn't want to drive me
Oh my
around anymore?
God.
She was the worst driving instructor ever, but I'm so good. So I forged by fire, I guess I was.
Yeah, you're lucky. I mean, I don't know if you're lucky, but my mom was like, my mom had just learned to drive like a year before I did. So, because again, in Mumbai, you don't need to drive, but we were smart enough to know that my stepdad cannot teach me, my mom can't teach me. So I went to driving school, uh, but want to know a special kind of stress? My driving instructor showed up. He was an older white man, like pretty old, and had an oxygen tank with him, with
Oh,
the thing on his face, like with the mask.
I would have been in a panic. I'd have thought I'm going to kill this man on accident.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to run a stop sign and
Yeah.
he's not going to make it.
Yes.
Um, yeah, I
He
don't
was
see how
like
you
the
did it.
chillest, calmest guy I ever met. And he would just like press the brake, if I was doing the most. But outside of that, the calmest guy I ever met. Maybe I don't know what was in that oxygen tank. Listen, but yeah, that's who taught me to drive. I don't know his name, but this random man. I just remember when the doorbell rang, and I looked at him, and I looked at my mom, and I was like, and I thankfully we speak a different language, so I was like, you need to reschedule because who did you get for me? So we definitely still also make fun of that time when it was a man with the oxygen tank taught me how to drive.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, it just gets worse. Been driving on the freeway was just bad in general. Like
Oh,
get a
awful.
learner's permit. I don't know how
No, you're
California
not
works,
allowed to drive.
but yeah, I was like in Texas, you're not allowed to drive without
A
a licensed
licensed
adult.
driver, yeah.
Yeah.
Or
So
21 plus, right? Yeah.
yeah. So he
I mean,
broke
this
the
is
law
his
for
parents'
her.
fault, right? So
Yeah, his parents said.
We've been known.
yeah, it just made me, I don't know why I wanted to talk about this so badly, but it just reminded me of this road trip I went on to Nashville with two friends. And big mistake because my friend, her Honda Civic did not have cruise control. So I was so tired, and I was the person in the passenger seat had PTSD, and she was constantly criticizing like every little like tiny swerve, and made me swerve more. It made me drive worse. And so I
Yeah,
just felt for
100%.
Ben. I was like, this, every time she like touches your leg or like presses you to go faster, it's probably making him go slower. So it just made me think of that. And I just kind of laughed as I was watching it during this crisis moment because yeah, relatable. Relatable to Ben.
Yeah, that man was driving so slow, they were going backwards. Like,
Yeah,
let's be
I
honest.
think it made it worse. Which was funny, but also yeah, I'm glad they made it on time. But anyhow, that was just, I didn't want to gloss over. I just wanted to hear your perspectives on that.
Oh no,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah.
I do agree with what you were saying about grief too. Like I
Mhm.
said, these last couple years, especially with the pandemic, it's just been wild. As far as like I know my experiences and many other people's experiences too with losing people. And yeah, those flashbacks just happen at the most random moments. And sometimes you laugh at them, and other times you're like, why am I thinking about this right now? Like, why now? Why do I have to deal with this right now? And I'm somebody who doesn't deal with grief well. I don't really grieve. I just kind of like put it aside and come back to it later on, or like I'll make a joke and then just kind of move on. But you never really move on until you grieve properly. Someone once told me that grief doesn't change this, like it doesn't, like the size of loss doesn't ever like decrease. You just grow around it. And so it's still there. You never forget about it. It's just sometimes you're not really paying attention to it, and then it comes back, and that loss is always still there. And so I feel that a lot, and I think this season and the series as a whole really does like encompass like, yeah, when your life is in shambles, sometimes you feel grief, and sometimes when you're happy, you feel grief, and it doesn't go away. You don't get to pick and choose when you're going to be sad that you lost somebody. And so we saw that with Davy, we saw that with Melanie, and the season did a really good job of kind of just wrapping that all up and putting it into just that portion of the storyline, because there's so much more. I mean, before we get into season 2, of course, like now we have to question what's next. Is there the Ben storyline? Are we looking for the Paxton, or who is Davy going to be with? Why not both? So we have more to explore moving forward, but it is fun to just say like, okay, we dealt with the heaviest stuff. Let's see what else they can throw at us. And so it's very excited to talk about this season with Sasha, but especially excited, of course, to have you, Karen from Canada, to come join us for the finale.
Yeah, that was I'm so grateful that I got to revisit the show. I don't think, if you had not done this, I wouldn't have gone back to watch it, because there's only so many times I can do laundry and wash my shirts and blankets. So but this was a perfect excuse to do all that all over again. It's been really fun listening to you both on the podcast, and when it's just you two or when you have guests, this has been a really great experience. So I just want to say you're doing great.
Oh, thank you. You're so kind. We're just here acting a fool, I feel.
Yeah,
and I
basically.
love it.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much. Anything else about this show, this episode and this season, y'all?
I mean, it's such a great show, and I hope that it's on Netflix. Like, I hope they never remove it so that lots of people can watch it and be impacted by it. I think it's I don't think there's anything right now in it that would cause it to be canceled later on, unlike some 90s shows. So I think it's going to be a staple for a long time.
Yeah, I hope so. God, I really do.
I agree. And even what Karen was saying at the very beginning with the representation, and just even with the way they're handling some of these subjects, like, I love this show and I don't like sad shows, right? And I really, as someone who's been a teacher for a while, I don't like a lot of teen dramas, so for this show to keep my attention and not make me want to turn it off, it's got to be doing something right. And so I appreciate Mindy Kaling for sharing this with us and keeping us in the loop for, I guess we're going to have a season 3 one day. And so that'll be fun. But we still have to get into season 2. So it's been a fun roller coaster ride, but it's not over yet, Sasha.
Yes, exactly. We will be back soon, probably next week, I think.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, we're gonna start season 2 with the quickness, because here we are.
There's no reason to stop, right? There's no reason why. I mean, season 2's out. I have a question for you both. So if there is a season 3, do you think? Well, Netflix and their shows, they don't usually go past the season 3. But if there's a season 3, do you think like this story of Davy, is it contained within high school? Or do you think they're going to skip a couple years?
Yeah, it depends, right? I think if the final year might be senior year, I do think that. I can't see this going to college. I mean, I just don't know if it'll have the same charm.
Right. Yeah. Well, and there would be new characters. It's hard to wrap up the story if they're going to end it on season 3, which they probably will.
Yeah. Oh my God.
The Netflix 3rd season curse is real.
Yeah. Didn't it get renewed for 3 and 4? Or am I crazy?
I think it's just 3 right now. No, I think it's just 3 right now, which, that's Netflix's move. But I agree. I think either way, I think it would be hard, but I think if they gave us like freshman year in college, it would be interesting. But I think they really do have to focus on wrapping this up. I mean, like we're going to get into season 2 a little bit later, but we got a little bit more time in high school. So she's just a sophomore now. Let's see what else we can do here in season 3 and season 2 and then into season 3. And then maybe we'll keep our fingers crossed. Netflix might do us a favor and do a season 4. We never know. So
I mean,
we'll
Dear
see what
White
happens.
People had a season 4.
And maybe they shouldn't have. I'm just saying.
Thank you.
Maybe they
So
shouldn't
my point is that I hope Mindy don't do us like that. Uh,
have.
but I do think that it should be 4 and that they end it, but they need to end it at senior year. I don't know that this is a like 20 season show.
Right.
Yeah.
We don't need another one of those, I promise.
No.
But yeah, that's it, Sasha. What you think?
Yeah, it's just I can't believe we're here, y'all. And thank you to the two of you and to everyone listening. Your stories have been so beautiful when you tweet us, when you retweet all our like silliness. We're so grateful for that. And for any one of you listening that has dealt with grief and losing someone, may their memory be a blessing to all of us and to everyone that knew them. And with that, I feel like it's time. Karen, where can people find you? Tell us everything.
Okay, so they can find me on Twitter at Careplane, Kareplane. It just so happens that tomorrow, my podcast, Wombat Water, we are recording a new episode on coconut water. So we'll be
Ooh.
playing some games with Sarah Ferguson
Yeah.
from Shit That 90 Show Taught Me. And we're going to be mixing it up. One of the games is going to be with real coconuts, and we're going to, maybe on camera, who knows, try to open a coconut and relieve it of all its water in the fastest amount of time. So we'll see how that goes.
Oh my God.
As well as the classic chugging contest. So if you
Of
want to know
course.
which coconut water is the best and which of us can open a coconut better or not, stay tuned for that in our tarot
my
card
God.
podcast. We're going to be doing the Halloween death deck. So if you have questions about who you were in your past life, or questions about what you need to do in life, or whatever questions you have, hit me up and submit your questions so we can answer it. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I love that. That's so exciting. And as a coconut water connoisseur, I feel like Harmless Harvest. If Harmless Harvest isn't winning, I'm stressed already.
Okay, so Sarah's definitely bringing that, I think, to the podcast. We don't have that in Canada, but there's no reason why she can't compete on behalf of Harmless Harvest.
Yeah,
So.
I was like,
and honestly, it all comes from the same place. Like there's
Yes.
a couple countries that provide coconuts for the world's coconut
Exactly.
water supply. So.
Yes. Oh, can't wait to hear it. And Chappell, what about you?
Well, speaking of Sarah Ferguson,
Yes.
we might see some of her later on this very podcast. We might, fingers crossed, we might be able to get her book to talk about Never Have I Ever, because I know she's a big fan. But of course, you can follow me on Twitter at Chappelle's_show or on Instagram at ChappelleTNT. You can catch me podcasting all the time because apparently that's all I do now. I love podcasting, but I mean I'm podcasting a lot these days. So I will be covering The Walking Dead World Beyond and Fear the Walking Dead on post-show recaps from now until eternity, it seems. And then Rob Cesternino and I on Rob Has a Podcast, we just started my new podcast, Nothing But Netflix, where we will be jumping into Netflix originals and new Netflix shows just like this one that Netflix has promoted, and we will be talking about a new one every single week. And so I'm very much looking forward to this new podcast adventure that Rob and I are embarking on. But yeah, that's what I got going on. I think I have a couple guest spots in the near future. I just guested on the Weird Sisters podcast, the Real Weird Sisters podcast, where we talked about Harry Potter and the Big Brother house and which houses those Big Brother contestants from the cookout and their compadres go into. So that was fun too. But yeah, a lot going on. But ultimately, just happy to be here hanging out with Sasha every week.
Yes. Oh, so excited. And I hope clickbait is on the list
I hope so.
be watched. I mean, listen, Rob, come on. I'm just gonna call Rob. No, I'm kidding. And with that, you can find me on Twitter at funsize_04. And I host the RHAP Love and Wrap Up. The last episode will be out next week. And I don't know if they're doing a reunion or not, but it's either way. The last episode of the Love and Wrap Up will be out next week, where I cover Love and Hip Hop Atlanta Honestly, if you love Ratchet Mess, please check out the show. We have had amazing guests on. It's been a mess. It's been a wild ride. And I was on today with Puya for 90 Day Fiance, The Other Way recap. Obviously, my home, my number one, I feel like, show at this point. Come watch me yell at Submit and Jenny. And I think all of them, but really mostly Submit, let's be honest, because
I hate
he
him.
is so annoying. Anyway, let me stop. And I will be and I will be on New Girl Old Guy tomorrow.
Wow.
Yes, talking about Cece and Schmidt's wedding. A spoiler alert. So, as the Indian Jew, obviously, that was my episode that I feel like I needed to be on. So I'm so excited to be on with them as well. I think that's it for me. So with that, if you're listening to us on audio version, so on Spotify or Apple, make sure on Spotify you follow us, on Apple you leave us a review. We appreciate all your 5-star review. If you're listening to us on YouTube, make sure you like, comment, and share this video. Subscribe to us on YouTube. We will be having a lot more content coming. Penthouse is here. We're going to be covering that in addition to other reality TV and scripted shows, etc., etc. So you want to follow along for the fun. With that, that's all, y'all. Thank you so much for listening. Bye.